It's like getting to the top of the roller coaster. Like, they gave us a 5 count, man. It used to be a 3 count. Now it's like a 5 count. It's like, man, I don't know. My palms are getting sweaty here.
They just want to make sure we're ready.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, man, so how, I was actually just talking to Danny, and he was like, how long has it been since you guys did a podcast? And I was like, I don't remember. When is the last time we did a podcast?
I think it's been like 2 weeks, maybe 2-3 weeks, something like that.
At the trajectory that we're going, it's like we came back to another world. It's like it's so crazy. It's like you can go on vacation and you feel like Rumpelstiltskin when you come back. You're like, wait, what? What's happening?
What's this?
We're bombing who? What?
I remember. So I keep track of that. The pizza tracker, the Department of Defense pizza tracker.
Yeah.
And they have there's another indicator on it. I'm trying to remember what it's called. Because I don't want to get the name wrong and everyone get mad at me, but it's the Pentagon Pizza Index. There's the Nothing Ever Happens Index.
Okay.
And so it's basically from 0 to 30, it's nothing ever happens. And then from 30 to 65 is something might, and 65 to 99, something is happening. 100, it happened. And so they're looking at prediction markets, a couple other things, trying to figure out, what's if you can tell what's about to occur, whatever. And I remember checking it the day before because we went up. It was Sunday or something like that.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, it happened. Yeah. So this index was showing nothing. The 20, nothing ever happens.
Dude, it was like lower than it's 5.9%. Like 1 minute before we started bombing.
Nothing. I woke up the next day, 100. It happened. And it's just like, what? Well, that prediction market wasn't all that useful after all.
Dude, look at that. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, what does it say? Oh, wow. Yeah. Nice work.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful sentiment there, my friend. But yeah, I know some people got really upset because I think Polymarket refused to pay out on a couple things because one of them was that the Ayatollah, Supreme Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was going to be removed from power by a certain date. But because he was removed by power by being blown up with a missile, they're like, they're not
going to pay, although the other one did pay. Kalshi wouldn't pay, but Polymarket did pay.
Yeah, the other one is like, we're not doing any predictions based on someone dying. That's part of our terms and services. So, everyone just gets their money back. You didn't lose your money, but like, we're not going to pay out on, someone dying. That's just, it's inappropriate,
Inappropriate.
Get out. What are you going to do? But yeah, so that's happened. It's been going on now for a week and some change.
That's interesting though. So you would think it'd be better for them to pay it out because then don't they get a rake or something? If they refund everybody's money, then yeah. So that's interesting.
Well,
actually,
it's
maybe they do have some integrity.
Well, it's for the same reasons that you don't want to, because that can turn into something like, well, I'm gonna bet, because people will bet on all sorts of stuff. So it's like, well, I'm gonna bet that so and so is gonna die in the next day. And then everyone's like, yeah, well, I'm going to go ahead and take the other side of that bet. And then you have them bumped off or something, you kill them. Right. And then it's like, well, you just paid for, it's like a life insurance policy,
That's right. Like, that's like Pete Rose betting on baseball, right? It's like, you can't do that. No, you're playing the game, bro.
There's too many ways for that to be abused. So no, thank you.
Well, so what are your thoughts? So Dad actually called me up last night and he didn't intend to ambush me or anything. We were talking logistics about something, and he just was like, "Oh, so what are your thoughts? Don't you think it's great?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think it's great." But I mean, I have a more nuanced view. We can get into it, but I'm curious. What we were on the phone for like an hour, and just talking back and forth about some things. He's got some pretty firm opinions on it, as he usually does.
Well, and he would probably know better than both of us since he talks to people, knows people there.
Well, so to set the stage, so my buddy Ruzi's over there right now. From there, lived there until he was, I think, 12. and has moved back about 5 years ago. But he said at least the people he hangs out with, they're all yeah, let's go. And I've seen the videos of like
people cheering in the streets when the missiles fly overhead and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Thank you, Trump. Thank you, Bibi. I never thought I'd see a bunch of Muslims thanking the Prime Minister of Israel for anything. I would love to just talk through it from a tactically and all this other kind of stuff. I was really surprised, honestly, that that Iran retaliated against. I wasn't surprised they retaliated against our bases. I was really surprised though that they were retaliating against the countries, like the hotel in Dubai that got hit, the Qatar property, a couple of things. It's like just indiscriminately like throwing missiles out everywhere. It's like I think it really drove a lot of those Gulf states over to kind of, hey, look here, assholes, over to our side of things,
Yeah. The retaliatory strikes are a little weird to me. I think my first impulse was like, well, I wonder what the strategy is here. But then my second impulse was that I don't think there's a strategy, because as far as I can tell, there's certain elements to those strikes where I think nobody's in charge. So it's the kind of thing that would happen if...
Which wouldn't surprise me. We killed it.
Yeah. It's like, well, like you cut off the head of the chicken. It's like, well, the chicken's going to keep running. It's like, well, where is it running to? It's like, well, it's not running to anywhere. It's just
expending energy.
Spending energy is running. But like, when you say, well, where is it going? Like, what is it trying to do? It's not trying to do anything. It's just running. And that's sort of what I think about this one. Dad and I were talking about it, the other night. It's like, they launched an attack against Turkey.
I know.
And it's like, out of all the countries over there, like that would be the last one you would ever want to attack. I mean, that would be like shooting a drone into Russia. Turkey's nuclear armed. They're NATO. And their government is not exactly inclined to accept bullshit from anybody. Their current government.
Did you see that Israeli? He's not the prime minister. He's something else, foreign relations guy or something. But he was giving a speech last week, and he said, once we take care of Iran, the biggest existential threat outside of Iran is Turkey. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these guys are going to go after Turkey now?
No one's going after Turkey. But that's the thing. It's like nobody in their right mind would attack Turkey. As soon as they attack Turkey, if Turkey wanted to, they could just say, hey, NATO, we've been attacked.
Article 5,
and suddenly, France, England, all these countries are now obligated to attack whoever attacked them. Canada, you have Australia. Why would anyone do that? Like that's not a rational thing to do. And so when they attacked Turkey, what I thought is like, well, that means that there is no government there that's functioning. You've got a president that's out there making speeches and saying, I apologize to the Qataris or whatever, it's like, well, you're not in charge.
Like an hour later and goes, we're not sorry for anything.
Yeah. Like you're not pushing any of the buttons. The people who are, I don't think are accepting or getting any new orders. They're just, it's like, the leader's been killed. His last order was, if I'm ever killed, shoot everything at everybody. And so it's like, well, I think it has made the argument in favor of what the Israeli U.S. Attack, right? It's like, oh yeah, these guys are crazy, and they're just going to shoot everybody, regardless of there's like, if you're shot, you're holding down the machine gun triggers and just turning, and whoever you kill, great. It's like, well, I don't want to be neighbors to that. So those guys got to go.
I'm going down in flames, right?
The
French fighter pilot. I only go down in flames.
I go down in flames. So it's just not. It's not a good look for them. I think the best option for them, and this would have happened at the beginning, would be to do like the soccer foul thing, where it's like someone lightly brushes your shoulder and you're like, and you fall over and like clutch your ankle and hope that, like they're like, we're being attacked, help us, and like maybe something would happen, but instead they're like, yeah, screw you, no one can defeat us, push all the buttons. It's like, doesn't seem like a winning play to me. I don't know.
Well, what do you think about what are your thoughts on the whole operation? Like, I mean, you not to out you, but you voted for Trump, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. So, for me, I did not, and so for me, it's more of a spectator. Like, okay, this is interesting. But I would think, I don't know where you fall on it, but I know a lot of people that voted for Trump specifically because he has been so consistently anti-war and was saying that any war against Iran would be stupid and all this other kind of stuff. People were like, okay, I love that, and now they're like feeling betrayed. But you find yourself part of that camp, or you think this is a really good move?
So I am in the wait and see camp, just because it was very early, and I remember the lead up to the Iraq War in 2003, when everybody was talking about, here's where the WMDs are, and look at this map, and they're right here, and all this other stuff, and they get the authorization to go in, and it was all like a very elaborate ruse that there was no, like Saddam Hussein has trucks moving around to make it look like, we've got WMDs, and there's nothing. And so that was like really embarrassing for everybody, right? And so, but imagine what would have happened if they did find it. What if they had found huge bunkers full of like cyanide gas and nerve gas, and like, they open up an underground bunker and these centrifuges are working on uranium, and they've got like 5 dirty bombs already going. And it's like, I think everybody would have felt real different about that war. Even in hindsight, you'd be like, yeah, it was a quagmire. Yeah, it was badly handled afterwards. But clearly the guy was amassing WMDs, right? So I think if this is going to be one of those where it's like,
you're kind of a, when you it's like putting your money on the roulette table, right? It's like this is my last $1,000. I'm putting it all on 27. You're like, that's crazy. And then it hits and you're like, well, that doesn't make you a genius, man. It just makes you lucky.
Right. So here's the thing. So according to the DOW now, are we supposed to call it the Department of War?
I think it's it's either DOW or WD. The old one was WD, War Department, but I think it's Department of War.
DOW now. We should say DOD. So according to the DOW, they had evidence that they had to go now.
No, that's not what Marco Rubio said, and that's not what Carolyn Levitt said. That's not what Mark Johnson said. So that's what they're saying now.
Right.
So they still haven't produced any of that evidence, but yeah.
Exactly. So like, if it turns out that's like, okay, hey, we had to do this. We couldn't brief Congress because Congress leaks like a sieve.
No, they did. They briefed the Gang of 8. Legally, they have to.
Right. But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is the reason that we didn't have these big presentations like in the 2003 Iraq thing was because, we couldn't let out what we were about to do and have stuff be moved around or changed or whatever. And so we had to go in now. It had to be secret, had to be sudden. We briefed the right people. All this information is forthcoming. You have to wait for the stuff to be done there. We'll send pictures. You'll see. In which case it's like, okay, well, I reserve the right to see those pictures, right? Right now, no one seems to be wanting to offer them. I'm hearing a lot of conflicting stuff coming out of the White House.
Story straight.
Right. So from that perspective, it looks a little Leroy Jenkins-y to me.
That's even putting it politely.
Yeah, it's just how it looks. I personally am part of the more anti-war part of the Republican Party, and to the extent that I vote Republican at all. So I was very happy that they pushed anti-war, remove neocons kind of thing. And so seeing this happen is a little strange. Not, again, we'll see. It's early enough, interestingly, it's early enough that I think we'll find out if this was like a disaster or not in time for the 2028 election. So in that sense, it doesn't seem like a political maneuver, where you might...
Because it's so unpredictable, you mean?
Because it's too early. Right. So you could look at, say, the Iraq War, 2003 is right before, it's a year before the election season kicks off in 2004. People are talking about you.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't think they did it for electoral benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. Like if they had done it, if the timing was one of those wag the dog kind of timings.
Well, they may have done it to distract from I mean, if you remember the day before we were, and the funny thing is that whenever this is over, we're just going to go right back to talking about that anyway, because that's got to be the biggest story in politics right now.
Yeah, probably so.
Probably. Yeah,
probably so. So I think, we'll see. This is one of those we'll see. Like, I'm sort of uncomfortable with launching missiles and starting a war without any debate within the American people. So I want to see the evidence of the urgency. I'd like to see that. I think the American people need something like that. And if a lot of it needs to be redacted, where it's like, look, we can't show you the actual stuff because we're going to use these methods to detect things later on, and so I can't show you the satellite images. I can tell you that they're there. Here's what they indicated. It was very clear. I want to see something,
Well, I mean, after Colin Powell, I mean, who even cares what the pictures are? You see that smudge? That's a munitions factory,
Yeah. I know.
It doesn't even matter if they show you pictures. That's AI, especially these days.
I know. I'll tell you though, and this is something that I think that
it does strike me though that there's just a lack of imagination. It's like, given all the tools that we have to create fake video and fake pictures, why wouldn't you just create a bunch of that and put it out there? Here you go.
Well, so I think again that's something that leans in its favor, that the people that are involved in it are not doing it cynically.
Is that what it means?
No, well, I'm saying like if you were looking at like indicators one way or the other, right? So the timing was close to an election. I would think indicator of cynicism. A bunch of fake propaganda, indication of cynicism, right? But I'm not seeing as much of those. So, at this point, like I can just kind of hope for the best. Like, okay, now that it's happened, what's the best outcome for everybody?
This is exactly what the point I was making to a buddy of mine a couple of days ago. I was like, bro, I mean, if this was up for debate, when this was up for debate in June, I was very vocal saying we don't need to be doing that. Like, there's so many other levers to pull. That's just ridiculous. If he falls for that, it's just, I was definitely in that camp, and then, they went ahead and did it and got in, got out. And it was like, okay, well, I mean, if you're going to do it, that's the way to do it, So, but at this point, this one looks like it's going to be a lot longer. But, like I was telling a buddy of mine, I was like, well, dude, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go out and protest in the streets? Like, this just not, there's not.
In New York, they are. Justice for the Ayatollah. Justice.
Right. Justice for the Ayatollah. Jesus. Oh man. Thanks for the reels. Yeah. But I mean, at some point you can envision a few months from now, if it's still going and there's no end in sight, like you could see, I think that the threshold for people getting impatient is a lot lower on this one.
Oh yeah.
That said, it's like, dude, well, I mean, we're in it now. So I mean, like what are you gonna do? You're gonna sit here and root for us to fail, or root for hey, let's extract the most advantageous result that we can and declare victory and then get out of there. Like, I mean, we know how to declare mission accomplished better than anybody. Let's just wave your flag, take the win, and get out.
So there's a couple interesting elements. I think declaring victory is probably less. So you could declare victory in Afghanistan and let the Taliban take over again.
Which we did. But
the
Taliban leader come to the White House last year.
Afghanistan, though, they don't have massive oil reserves. They don't have a lot of industry that we're trying to. It's not like, oh, we fly over there all the time. It's like Afghanistan is very remote. It's a graveyard of nations, right? But it doesn't seem like Iran is like that. I mean, it's right there in the Gulf. You've got the Strait of Hormuz there on its border. You've got, is right sidled up next to Iraq, to the Saudis. These are all allies. They're within missile strike distance of Israel. So I think saying, oh, mission accomplished, I think there needs to be a little bit there needs to be some meat on those bones for it to be plausible.
Well, did you hear Carolyn Levitt's press conference today?
I try not to. I find her very annoying. I'm sorry.
You don't like Beltway Barbie? She's my favorite.
It's not, that has nothing to do with her appearance. Just her tone of voice to me is very, very grating.
Yeah, she's pretty strident.
Hard to listen to.
Well, so yesterday Trump had been talking about because I guess some of the people in the administration, the scuttlebutt that I had been listening to was they had thought, oh, we went into Venezuela, we knocked these guys out, elevated the second in command, and they're doing business with us now, and now we got Cuba in a little bit of a box there. And
well, we didn't go to war. We arrested a criminal.
That's right. That's right. That's the rationale, right? So
right. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, oh, that they were thinking they could just do that in Iran. Like, hey, we'll smash all this stuff and then get you guys back to the negotiating table. And I'm like, I don't understand how you thought that was going to go. Like, you already, like, I remember the stories growing up about, World War II when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, but like literally the week before they were in DC having peace negotiations, even though they knew that they were planning this strike, right?
They're on their way.
And like all the textbooks that I read growing up, it was like, the villainous Japanese lied and, whatever. And I'm like, dude, this is twice now we've done this to Iran in 6 months. Like, we did it to them in June. And this one, like, they already admitted that they've been planning this for a couple months. So like, they literally were like having these talks in Geneva while everybody knew they were going to, I mean, our people knew, those people. So it's like, well, I don't know what makes you think they want to come back to a negotiating table with you? Like, I mean, just you've proven yourself completely unreliable.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Honestly, I don't know what possible outcome you get at this point that's not like a full regime change.
Oh, that's where I was going with that. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Trump, after they kind of blew him off, like, no, we're not interested in negotiating. He's like, okay, fine. In that case, all we're going to take is unconditional surrender, right? Mm-hmm. And which then, all the talk shows over the weekend were like, well, what is he talking about? Unconditional surrender? Like, who's even running the country? Who are they going to surrender to? They don't. There's nobody on the ground that they could even. What does he want a phone call? Like, what? Can you explain this? The Sunday shows are just like, I used to have so much fun watching them. I can't even watch them anymore, dude. This is so ridiculous. It's like who anyway. How
about this? How about you stop launching missiles?
Well,
we'll take that as part of the surrender.
Well, so, but I thought it was really interesting that Trump would like put himself in a box like that. This is all it. I was like, well, but he's going to walk it back. So it's like, okay, well, it'll be interesting. How's he going to walk this back, right? And today, Carolyn Levitt goes, they're querying her. Well, what does this mean, unconditional surrender? And who are you expecting to surrender from, et cetera? And she's like, look, President Trump is going to decide when they have surrendered, and like he will know when they have surrendered. They'll either surrender verbally, or he'll just have determined that they are no longer a threat and therefore they have surrendered. I mean, she worded it better than that, but that was kind of I was like, oh, there you go.
Yeah.
If you own the definitions, you don't really have to make a lot of sense,
Well,
or like my friend Leanne used to say, it makes a ton of sense if you don't think about it too much.
Well, so that one actually sounds like a reasonable answer.
Well, it's the truth. I mean,
yeah, like what would surrender look like? Well, again, I mean, it's not like you're going to do Civil War, where General Lee hands over his sword. They shake hands. The Confederate soldiers are allowed to keep their horses as they go home. It's like that. That's not happening because there isn't anyone that can do that. So
I miss those days.
Yeah, limited. Yeah. Well, I mean, Civil War catches everyone right on the transition from limited to unlimited warfare. So anyway, that fascinating time period for military history.
Gosh, I was watching Last of the Mohicans.
Oh yeah,
a while back, and there's a great scene where the British surrender their fort to the French, and the French captain is like so incredibly generous, you know, with his terms. He's like, hey, I don't want to embarrass you, just leave. You can take your arms with you, and just
vacate the fort.
Vacate the fort. Promise not to fight against us, and we're good. And he's like, wow, this is very generous terms, right? So the British take him up on it. They leave, and the head Indian guy is talking to, Native American is talking to the French guy, and he's like, and the French guy says, I have to let him go. My great father, the king, right, just wants his land back, and get these people off his land, But I know they'll probably want to take it out on somebody, and more than likely they're going to come after you. And unfortunately, I've already given my word that I can't really attack them or harm them in any way, because I've given my word, and that's really important to us, And
but I didn't speak on your back.
But he doesn't say that. Yeah. But like he just, that's what the message is, right? And then sure enough, next scene, they just get massacred in the woods or whatever. And you're like, man, this guy, talk about having your cake and eat it too, right? Like I can be this great, generous commandant, and I can still make sure my enemy's wiped out, and I don't even have to get my hands dirty. Terrific.
I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, wasn't me.
Yeah, I can write back. We did everything honorably, just the way you would want, sir.
American forest is a dangerous place.
Very dangerous place. Natives here, they have a different idea of warfare,
right?
than we do.
Right. Beautiful fort you have here.
Yeah.
Be a shame if anything happened to
it. Do you think? Do you think they're going to they're going to have regime change in Iran?
Well, they already have. We killed like, something like, it was kind of funny. I have to when they're doing the Oval Office thing, is like, Trump's like, yeah, who are you hoping to take over the company? Well, the guy that we really wanted to take over the country, unfortunately, he's dead. And so then we were thinking, well, maybe this other guy, but he's dead too. They're all dead. And I'm just like, God, this guy is just so it's just literally like idiocracy, President Camacho. They're all dead. But supposedly the guy, I guess it's the Ayatollah's son.
Mm-hmm.
And he's even more hardline than his old man is. So I don't know.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like at some point, so if I'm hearing correctly, the actual military is not doing anything. They're not shooting missiles. They're not fighting. They're not doing anything. It's the Revolutionary Guard Corps,
RGC,
the RGC, and they're technically paramilitary, but they answer to the Supreme Leader.
Yeah.
And so a regime change would involve a disbanding, I'm guessing, of the IRGC, and then maybe an expulsion of the Ayatollahs, or trials of some kind, like some kind of like a Nuremberg style trial, where it's like, hey, you guys just killed tens of thousands of protesters over the last year. There needs to be some kind of inquest. People need to give evidence. You broke your own laws, something like that. Would count as regime change, certainly.
Who would have the moral authority to even host a tribunal like that, though?
Well, so if what they did was against the Iranian constitution, if they're like, it sort of like, how in the mainland China right now, in the Chinese constitution is guaranteed freedom of speech in the constitution. Right. And so, but it's like, well, yeah, it's in the constitution, but we're not following that, or, what we call free speech, within the bounds of what would be useful to the people and so on. And so you could imagine like a future government prosecuting the old one for violating the constitution.
Oh, you're saying if Iranians hosted their own.
Yes.
Yeah, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Yes. For not for violating like international law, but violating
Iranian
law. And then it's like, okay, now we're going to, have some sort of secular government or democratic election process. I think, unlike the Afghanistan population, which seems not to have wanted democracy. So democracy is sort of foisted on them. You had a minority that wanted it, but not a majority of people wanted democracy.
Shoot, man, even we didn't want it for them. We wanted that opium.
Yeah, whatever, right? But I think the Iranian people a majority of them would prefer democracy, and so a secular democracy, something like maybe what Turkey has, perhaps. I mean, I could imagine them wanting, say, some kind of constitutional monarchy, like what England has, where you have head of state, you have the peacock throne, but really it's handled by people who vote, and you have a prime minister who has all the power and all that stuff. I don't know, right? I'm just saying, like, it seems like that kind of thing could happen. The alternative is what? You basically bomb a bunch of people and then let the next Ayatollah take over and continue doing the same thing.
I think, like, we're speaking of it in such this antiseptic way, because we're not really connected to it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I sometimes will get fired up about, like, oh, this is wrong, the way we did this, etc. It's not compliant, whatever the case may be. But I think we forget the human. You remember that movie, The Kingdom, that Peter Berg movie? It's got Jamie Foxx and Jennifer Gardner and a couple other people. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, there's this really great, it's not really a spoiler or anything. There's this great kind of loop in the movie. At the very beginning, there's this terrorist attack, and
I saw this, yeah.
You did? Okay. Yeah. And basically a couple of the Americans that were on site got killed, several of them. And they were, and it's the friends of these people that kind of go over there to, like, track down the people that bombed, and bring justice. Right. Mm-hmm. And at the very beginning of the movie, when they're just kind of like, they're in the briefing, and one of the girls breaks down crying because it was like her best friend and all this other kind of stuff. And the one guy has his arm around her and he kind of whispers in her ear, and she kind of gets this look on her face and kind of gets her act together, And later they're asking her, what did he whisper to you? And she's like, he just said, we're going to go over there and kill them all. And she's like, so, I'm ready. And that was like, that's close to the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And then towards the end of the movie, when they finally do get their retribution and take out the bomb maker and all this other kind of stuff, he's, they bomb his house, all this other kind of stuff. And he's laying there, he's bloody and dying. And, the mom is dead and whatever else. And the little kid is like 12 or whatever, has kind of got the grandpa's head in her lap and everything. And he whispers in her ear something. And then later the parents are asking, what did grandpa say to you? And he said, oh, just
don't worry.
Don't let this stand, go kill them all, And it's like, it is such a great thing of the perpetuation of, how violence begets more violence.
Sure.
And, thinking through this new Ayatollah, right? I mean, imagine how you would feel if your dad, your relatives, cousins, all these different people that were in your family, had just been taken out, and now in according to them, and certainly the way they see it, an unprovoked attack. I mean, they weren't threatening anybody. So, like, I mean, with their words maybe, but
well, threatening, yes, but
they were barking like a dog. They weren't like threatening anybody, like in terms of, like, there was no imminent threat that they can even document now. I mean, so, like, if we had it, we would put it out there. Well, no, you guys did this, and that was threatening. No, you've been chanting death to America for 47 years, so we've had to do it today. It's like, okay, it's not washing.
Been an imminent threat for 47 years.
47 years ago, it's like, what? Anyway, and so it's like so from his perspective, I mean, just he's not. I can't imagine he's going to be in a mood to, like, negotiate anything. It's like
no, he won't.
There's an interview I saw a couple years ago with Bibi Netanyahu, and it was right after. Do you remember that? There's another movie out, 7 Days in Entebbe, where basically these I forget all the ins and outs, but basically these Israelis were killed in this attack, and one of the people killed was his brother, Netanyahu's brother.
Okay,
and it was like a year later. And this interview, I can't remember who was the interviewer either, but Netanyahu literally broke down crying in the interview because, it was so heavy for him. He lost his, I mean, I could imagine losing you in something like that. It's like, dude, I would be, like, really fired up. And it's like, okay, well, he's still talking about this, and he just lost one person, and this guy's lost, at least half a dozen family members in this attack. I just don't see how this would come to any I mean, they'll probably have to take him out as well. It's like, I don't.
Most likely.
Yeah.
I think for a regime change set up kind of like this, probably what needs to happen, and again, very antiseptic. I'm sorry, like for people who listen to this, like, wow, that just sounds kind of bloodless. Like the dude has ice water in his veins. And I'm just thinking of it as like chess moves, right? I mean, I would talk about
right. And we have that luxury, It's our
well, the thing is, I would talk about my own country this way,
right?
But what you would have to do is probably you would have to just kill who is ever in that position, and you just have to keep. It's like, well, if you select another one, we'll kill him too, and we're just going to keep doing that until you decide not to appoint anyone to this position, and you leave the country.
There's the
it's like, where are you supposed to go? We don't care.
We don't care. Just there's this I don't know if it's a saying or whatever, but like from history, the way the Romans would take over places, and Alexander the Great even kind of started it, but the Romans took it to the next level, but they would literally just go in and annihilate whoever was sitting on the throne and basically say, okay, they get the leaders together and be like, all right, we're going to put you in charge. And if you do what we say, we're going to give you all this money and all this other kind of stuff. And you can, we're not going to fool with you. You can do whatever you want.
Yep.
But you
will be a vassal of Rome.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, if you're not down with that, that's fine. We'll kill you too. And then who's next? And we'll find somebody here that's willing to play ball, and, and so it's just,
well, I think that is sort of what happened in Venezuela.
Right.
But the next person was like, I am your guy.
I'm good. Yeah.
No problem.
I'm good.
What do we need to do? Like, I'm a reasonable person. You're a reasonable person. Let's do business.
It is interesting too, like just kind of zooming out from Iran for a minute. It's interesting to think about our strategic position. Like if you just look at the globe as a game board, so to speak, and you look, okay, like if I was playing a game against China, what kind of moves would I need to make to shrink their, whatever strategic asset or advantage they think that might have? And if you look at the moves that we've made over the last year, I mean, the three big ones are, China got something like 70% of their oil from Iran and Venezuela and Russia, right? And so it's like, okay, so, Venezuela, we just took that oil thing out of your pocket. Iran, we're going to take that one out of your pocket. Panama Canal, they almost had that thing buttoned up, and then they were able to get the local Panamanian courts to unwind a couple of these Chinese deals. And that's like, okay, well, now you just lost your strategic asset on the Panama Canal. It's like at some point they're going to make a counter move. I just don't know what it is,
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting. That might be so. One of the I've read this theory before. Like the imminence angle on this one is sort of looking into the magic mirror of geopolitics and seeing that Iran is the most fair of all. It's like, okay, look what we do here: solidify the Saudis' control over the area. Remove China from having their, not only does it disrupt their oil stuff, but it disrupts the Belt and Road Initiative. It disrupts Russia and their war against Ukraine because they're getting a lot of their drone technology from Iran, which now, not anymore. It boosts Israel. It does all these different things. And you're like, wow, if we're going to push the button on someone, why? This is amazing. Plus, everybody hates these guys. So,
if it was a gadget with features, this one has more features than anything.
Yeah. It's like it's got the more GBs.
The bigger GBs,
bigger GBs,
and the Wi-Fi's.
But that's one of the theories that I've seen about it. That this is actually more about China than anything else, or like the alliance between China and Russia. And so,
well, I don't. It's so funny when I read pieces like that. It's like it's a
very cynical take.
Well, no, it's not like I read it and go, oh yeah, I bet that's exactly what they were thinking. you know, because this is some guy who's like off to the side and he can kind of like, okay, from my vantage point, these are the things I care about, and look how this fits in together, and this might work out to be really good. Yeah, those are all fair takes, you know, but I don't think that's what's actually going on in these rooms. I think, you know, what's going on in these rooms is something totally different, you know.
You think it is some like just very irresponsible rah kind of thing? Like that's what we're looking at.
No, I think a couple things that are just my personal observations over you know the past 10 years of watching specifically Trump, you know, do Trump, you know, Trump do Trump. He doesn't have like some kind of master plan. Like he's just trying to survive this news cycle. You know, it's like, if I can just kick the can into tomorrow, then, you know, I had this guy I used to work with years ago, and we sat down to do like this 5-year plan or whatever. And he's like, what are we, Nazis? We got 5-year plans? What is this? You know? And I was like, and the guy goes, what, you don't believe in long-term strategic planning?
Yeah.
He goes, no. He goes, 5-year plans are for losers, man. My plan is to win today, you know? And it was kind of, I mean, it's a great saying, you know? But it's also, I think that's very much like Trump's mentality. It's like, you know,
that is a strategy.
It is a strategy. It's like, look, you know, it's like, how are you going to win this lawsuit? You got all this stuff. It's like, no, it's delay, continuance, venue change, blah, blah, blah. All these different things we can do to just push the date out, because you never know what's going to happen. You never know what's going to happen. As long as I don't have to pay the piper today, then I'm winning, right? And I think there's some of that that's in there for sure. I mean, they were under a lot of pressure on the Epstein thing, and they were desperately looking to change the subject. And that, I'm not saying they did it because of that. I'm saying that's a nice side benefit that you can't ignore, you know? The other thing that I think is just, I think you'd have to have your freaking eyes completely closed to not see. I mean, Israel has completely like bought and paid for the government at this point. You know, it's like everything that we're doing geopolitically is, I'm not saying it's at the behest of them. I'm sure the people in the administration almost feel like, you know, hey, we're partners here. You know, like these guys, we're aligned ideologically, and so what's good for them is good for us. What's good for us is good for them.
Sure.
I don't think there's anything kind of nefarious about it, other than, I mean, it's perfectly natural for our country to want to push forward their interests and to lobby and pay money and invest in and do whatever with other countries and entities they think are going to further their aims. I got no problem with that. But at this point, it's like, gosh, you know, like it is completely obvious that, I mean, they are going to get what they want. You know, the fact that Rubio came out and said what he said about the attack. Did you see his initial statement?
Which one are you talking about?
So basically, after they briefed the Gang of Eight, so the law is that you have to, if you're contemplating military action, you have to brief Congress, but you don't brief Congress as a whole, obviously, because they're full of leaks. But there's 4 senators on each side of the aisle that is called the Gang of Eight, and they are sworn to secrecy and all this other kind of stuff. And so they get access to classified briefings. And so they had briefed them ahead of time. This is what's going on. And so after the war was initiated and all the other kind of stuff, he was back on Capitol Hill to meet with them and give them an update, and got like the press was outside waiting for him and whatnot. And so, and he ended up speaking to the press for a good 20 minutes. And what he said, and it's a very long statement. And so it's like, it's not even like, oh, I misspoke, or that was taken out of context. It's like, it was very clear about it. That what he said was that because Iran they knew that Israel was going to attack Iran. And if Israel attacked Iran, Iran would retaliate with strikes against our bases in the Middle East. And so because Israel was going to attack anyway, and Iran was going to counterattack us, then we had to preemptively attack them, because why would we sit here and take a punch when we don't have to, you know?
I'm trying to pull up the exact quote.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
I just want to make sure that I'm following along.
But you get the domino, right? So if Israel attacks Iran, Iran retaliates against Israel and also our bases in the Middle East. And so because they knew that retaliation was going to come because Israel was definitely going to attack, then we had to go ahead and attack, And you see what I'm saying?
I see. So the idea was that I'm assuming he's thinking of these as like cause effect sort of just if then orders.
Well, that's right. They knew that Israel was going to do this. Iran was
but on the part of Iran, that like if they're attacked, it's not like, oh, we can go negotiate and say, well, no, hey, this wasn't us. We tried to tell them not to or whatever. It's like it just doesn't matter. As soon as Israel attacks Iran, Iran simply will attack.
They had been vocal about it. They had gone to all the different Gulf states and even said, like, that was part of their force projection was, y'all better not mess with us because we'll retaliate against these bases.
Against everybody.
Yes. Yeah. And so that was already out there. And so and so that was his justification. Now he said that. Now he's on the hook for it because he said it first. But then that became the talking point of the administration for literally a day. It was him, Carolyn Leavitt, Mark Johnson, a bunch of different people came out and literally repeated the same thing. Well, we knew they were going to do it. We had to do it.
So basically, we have to shoot down their missile bases, shoot at their missile bases before they have a chance to launch them against us. And we know it's not like we're guessing they're going to launch them soon. We know for sure they are because we know for sure Israel is going to attack them.
That's exactly right. And so
that's interesting. Okay.
So after they had been saying this for like 10 hours, people started, editorials started coming out. And it's like, oh, Israel basically leveraged us into this war. Like they put us in this position. We're only in this war because White House says, Bibi started it, basically was going to, whatever. And so then they're like, well, we have to walk that back because that doesn't look good, And so then Mark Rubio, if you look at his statement the next day, they cornered, hey, so talk more about what you were saying yesterday. You guys are totally misquoting me. I can't believe this is totally what you guys do. You always make up stuff, blah, blah, blah. That was not what I said. What I said was this other thing. And it was literally the opposite. If you go look at the juxtaposition, it's crazy. And it's like, and Rubio's a well-spoken guy. I mean, actually, like, if anybody's going to go make a case for anything, I mean, if I needed a case made, I would hire Rubio. He's pretty good. It's like, but to me, it's like, well, okay, if either that's true or it's not true. I mean, who knows what's true or not true anymore. But that the reason I think it is true is because of how embarrassed they were and had to walk it back afterwards. It's kind of the thing where you're like, oh man, I got caught speeding here,
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, all right, if think about all the different times that Trump specifically or his team has like heard that somebody's going to do something. It was like, you do that and we're going to do that. You better not do it, whatever. And it's like, but we couldn't do that to Israel. It's like, we bought all your weapons. We finance your entire country. We do all this. Like, you do that, we'll cut you off. Like, if they didn't want them to do it, they wouldn't have done it, And so it's like, well, you can't really say, well, Israel was just out of control and we had to, it's like, what are you talking about, man? They're basically a vassal state of yours, So I don't know.
Well,
to me,
it's so I actually think that's his. So me not being a politician, that initial justification to me is fairly satisfying. Not because it's like, well, Israel's a rogue state or something like that, but it's like if you, think of it as another ally, for example.
Well, that's fair. They are one.
Yeah. So, but I mean, but I think
they're a very good one. But
no, but like imagine another very close ally. So like America's oldest ally, France, right? Let's say.
There you go.
Right. So France, for some reason, gets super crossways with I don't know who, and they're like, "Hey, we're going to go do this," and that country has sworn eternal vengeance on you if we do it, and for our national security, we're doing this. We can't be talked out of it or whatever. Then it's like, well, okay, you can either sort of take the moral high road and allow yourself to be attacked, or you can be like, okay, yeah, this is gross. We got to do it. I don't know. That to me, I can see the logic of it. It's not a very good logic when it comes to it may not sound great. It may be one of those ones that like generates a lot of bad memes. But you know what I mean? But it's like okay, and you're like, no, they're about to attack. 100%. It's actually imminent this time. I know 47 years of death to America, but it's actually imminent this time. And we know that it's imminent because of this other thing that we don't have the right to tell that other country not to do this in its own national interest. And
well, of course we do. We pay for their entire government. I mean, that's what's crazy. It's like,
that's what I'm saying.
What are you talking about? Like,
that's why
tell them to not do it.
That's why I bring it up as though they were another. You were like, France. I mean, we mostly run their country. I mean,
no, but we don't run France. But it's more. It's the other way around. The point I'm making is that, I mean, it's not even a point I'm making. It's more of like, okay, there's been a question in my mind for the past few years, watching the moves Israel makes and how they pressure and maneuver and through AIPAC, through their different mouthpieces here, and it's like, okay, so a lot of times we go along with that, and sometimes we don't, and then and you can see the consequences of it. I just think it's very hard, one of my friends who is really just disappointed in Trump's kind of about face here on the war thing, and was just like, almost like disillusioned, and I was like, man, I just think, and I'm not trying to make him feel better necessarily. It was just more like, dude, there's some real politic that goes on. It's like, okay, we have these rules, and then we have these things that really need to get done that the rules don't help us do. And so how do we bend and flex the rules to get done what we need to get done? And then how do we build the legal framework to justify it after the fact or whatever? That's been real politic for a long time here, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. It's just, that's a fact. That's what goes on, and it's like, in this particular case, it's like, well, gosh, a year ago, this particular person had all these high hopes of like, oh man, we're finally turning the page on all this, like, this neocon disastrous $5 trillion spent on wars in the Middle East over the last 20 years. And, Trump was talking about Doge and shrinking the Pentagon and not getting into all these adventures, finally investing the billions of dollars that we pour down the drain overseas, actually like, hey, let's rebuild our roads, rebuild our schools, do what's right for America, all this other kind of stuff. And it's like,
right.
Actually, no, we're not going to do any of that. In fact, instead of shrinking the Pentagon, we're going to increase the Pentagon's budget. We're going to have all this forward facing. It's like, man, this is very jarring for him, right? And
yeah, I totally agree. I think I'm surprised that I was very surprised when I found out that it happened. I don't know if sort of MAGA world will punish him for it. I was taking a look, kind of taking the pulse of PDW, where a lot of the MAGA people, the most vocal ones, hang out, and I mean, they are all like, "America's back, woo!" Kind of thing. So it's like, okay.
Well, yeah, I saw some poll the other day. It was like, something like 80% of MAGA like supports this action or whatever. It's like
85.
To me, the only way that number makes any sense, because I mean, there are lots of prominent voices that have, and you can see by the comments on different, you see Mark Levin, for example, who's like super pro-Israel, pro-war, pro all this stuff. And on his own Twitter thread, on his own YouTube channel, the anti-war comments ratio him every time. I mean, like it's not even close in terms of public opinion. And so it's like, well, if you describe MAGA as everybody who voted for Trump this last cycle, no way is it at 85% among those people. I mean, the only way that would be true of 85% of MAGA is if you just kept shrinking what you defined as MAGA down to where you can get to 85% and say, oh, those people aren't like.
How about this though?
Like Trump was saying how MTG and Tucker and Megyn Kelly and all these people are no longer MAGA. I'm kicking them out.
No. So remember, 85% is not 100. And it may be that 15% is like especially loud or especially well spoken or especially well connected. The numbers that I saw today was that they did a big poll sort of nationwide and for I think it was likely voters, and it was at 50-50 nationwide. Where when they broke it down by independents, I think independents were at 40% favor. Democrats were much lower. I think it was like 20 something. And then Republicans as a whole, those who self-identify as Republicans, were at 85. And given that Republicanism really has sort of become, MAGA, whatever. So I can see, I mean, there's some daylight between the two, of course, but it's like as a proxy, as the likely Republican voter sitting as a proxy for how MAGA world is taking this, 85% in favor. Now, that doesn't, you might say yes, but like the brightest and most
in favor. In favor how though? Like this this language very fuzzy. It's like even if I took the 85% and said, okay, fine. In favor how? In favor like, I don't know about that, but I guess I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Or yeah, let's go kill these people. It's like I don't know. It's like Lindsey Graham. We're killing all the right people and cutting your taxes.
That's a great question. Let me see if I can pull up the question that was asked. It was from Quinnipiac, CBS, NBC, Washington Post, CNN, and then what was it? Yeah. So the question was, do you approve or disapprove of the current U.S. military action against Iran? Mm-hmm. So very vague, but just kind of are you giving the thumbs up to what we're doing now or thumbs down? All voters were 50-50, Democrats 20, independents 40, Republicans 84. And they're showing that this is there you
go. Because a lot of what I would think.
These are registered voters.
A lot of MAGA, so to speak, this last cycle was independent voters. So there you go.
Yeah. So I guess you can look at it and like try to figure out like what the proxy of what is. It seems like Republicans seem to be totally fine with this. I'm surprised that Democrats are so low given how in favor of strikes. I think this may be just sort of like anti-Trump reaction.
For sure that's like, what it is. Because
this seems like something that Democrats should be like, finally, you saw the light, kind of thing. But so I don't. That seems kind of irrational to me. But if you've got sort of the natural Democrat vote skewing towards favorability on this, once the sort of anti-Trumpness wears off, and then the 85% of the Republicans saying that, currently it's at 50-50 when the Democrats sort of unnaturally weighed down by anti-Trump sentiment.
Well, but you also have to ask how many, if you just take the self-described Republicans, how many of them, I mean, I know a lot of Republicans that used to be, pro-business and pro-free market and pro-everything else. But the minute Trump said tariffs and they were like, yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, I think I think it's like, well, I mean, are they really in favor of the action? Or are they just like, hey, whatever Trump says, I'm good,
Yeah, could be. But in that case, it seems like that does stand in as a nice proxy for MAGA world. If they're like, if this is the pro-Trump group, then that's the MAGA group.
So Nate, my buddy Nate asked a question. This is the exact same thing. Yeah. This is the exact same thing, by the way, that Dad was talking about last night. So I'll just read his question.
Okay.
Legit question. I've been trying to discern.
Not an illegit question?
Nate only asked legit questions.
Okay.
This is Nate Forrest. He's named after a Civil War general, man. Only the most legit viewers and the most legit questions right here. At what point do we have a responsibility to attempt to end senseless murders by regimes like the one in Iran, as they have been murdering so many protesters lately? I understand we can't stop it everywhere, so I genuinely wonder where we, as the USA, should put our attention to an end to so many senseless murders. So that's his question that he's wrestling with himself. And what I had said to Dad, when Dad brought this up, was like, no, they're killing their protesters, And it's like, hey, there's a lot of places around the world where people are getting killed, governments are oppressive, all kinds of stuff, that we would say, man, that's just not right, and we don't feel obligated to go spend. I mean, we're spending, I think, $1 billion a day on this initiative right now. Okay. $1 billion a day. So when you think, okay, Now that's your money, right? So you pay your taxes. That money goes into the government. It's your money. Do you want $1 billion a day being spent to rescue these poor people from their oppressive government halfway around the world? Or do you want to spend $1 billion a day raising the salary of teachers so that we can get quality education for our kids, paying down our debt so that we don't go bankrupt and our currency doesn't devalue itself out of nothing and your retirement savings are worth nothing? Maybe shoring up Social Security and Medicare so that you can continue to go see a doctor. I mean, it's like, and what I asked Dad was, hey, are we allowed to have priorities? Like, can we say as voters, yeah, that's whatever's going on over there is crap, and it's not top on my priority list. It's like we have some things we need to take care of over here, and if we have some extra bandwidth and we can throw you a bone, happy to do it. But $1 billion a day, tearing up it's not just bombing the country. It's like you right now, they shut down the Straits of Hormuz. So you're going to see a ripple through the energy markets. You're going to see a ripple through supply chain. It's going to cause a lot of, whenever fuel prices go up, we think about filling up our gas tanks, but I mean, that's every product that you buy that's not from America. It comes over here on a ship or something, and it drives up the price of all of that. So like one of the things that Trump gets really right, I think, is his focus on energy and saying we got to have more energy, drill, baby, drill, whatever. I mean, and there's different things, where I may care about being environmentally conscious or more responsible about but whatever. I mean, ultimately, he's right. Like as we drive forward AI, all these different technological things, we need more energy. The world needs more energy, and we should be the ones providing it, not having to buy it from everybody else. I mean, that's just that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, okay, well, because energy, the higher the cost of energy is, the scarcer it is, the more everything else that you just look around this koozie, this tablet, this mouse that I bought from, I mean, all of it is impacted by the price of energy. So I think it's a great question. I don't know the moral answer to the question. I'd love to hear your take on it, Russ, you're a philosopher, but I think to me, it's like, well, the perspective that Trump was selling on the campaign trail was very much one of, we're not going to get involved with these nonsense wars. Like, we don't care if there's evil regimes out there. Like, if we can do some business together and we can keep the peace and blah, 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 that's what we're about. A lot of people bought into that. And it's like, okay, well, and now it sounds like I'm listening to Dick Cheney or George Bush 20 years ago. We got to go save these people.
Yeah.
Anyway, what are your thoughts?
Well, so you always think that like maybe there's a maximum out there. So whenever I think
a maximum.
Oh,
maximum.
Yeah. So whenever like, well, at what point? I mean, this is the question Nate asked, right? It's just at what point do you have a responsibility? So let's take probably the most oft-cited example, but I mean it's relatively close to us historically, is World War II. So imagine a different start to World War II. Imagine Japan never bombs Pearl Harbor. We have pretty strong isolationist tendencies at the time. Roosevelt wants to get in, but can't really. So we missed that opportunity. Roosevelt's out.
He can't gin up the support. Yeah, we missed the
someone
window.
Else comes in, whatever. And then we find out, like word gets back about the death camps, the concentration camps. And we're like, oh my gosh, they are killing hundreds of thousands of people, per month. Would that have been enough on its own to get people to say, like, that's it, we're going in? Like, we're declaring war against Japan, Germany, Italy, like, we're in, kind of thing. And obviously, there's no way to know the answer to that. It's a historical question. But I think people in general would like to believe that that would have been a good enough reason to go to war, to prevent
the death camps from happening,
to prevent the Holocaust, to stop the Holocaust. It's like,
so under that view, we actually contributed through our negligence to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people because we delayed so long getting into the war. Well, we only got into the war because we were attacked, and if we had gotten in for moral reasons, we could have saved a lot of lives.
We could have saved a lot of lives, and that would have been the better, like the more moral thing to do, or whatever. And I think that's an interesting question, kind of an open question. Like, is there a point under which that you're like, yeah, I mean, if there was ever a good reason to go attack, you could see another version of this, maybe depending on like take the United States Civil War, and you say, yeah, it was fought over states' rights and a lot of this, but a lot of the intensity over it was on the slavery question, the abolition question.
Well, it wasn't about states' rights; it was about slavery. They even said, even the southern states said so in the Confederate Constitution.
I'm saying that in the many complicated things
was the going states' on, rights of slavery.
Many complicated things involving the Civil War. I think we can all agree that like what animated a lot of people to be like, hey, we can't just let this slide.
I totally get that. I totally get that. But slavery in the United States or the Holocaust, there's a level of atrocity that we weren't seeing on the streets of Iran.
Right. And so this is the point, right? So the reason I'm kind of zooming into this is because, and Nate's question is, at what point?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, there's one school of thought that would be like, that's not our country. Like, if you want to go sign up to be part of that army to stop it from happening, feel free. But like, we're not sending our army over there.
And Americans have done that over the years in every conflict that's ever been. I mean,
Spain is against the fascists was
half of Hemingway's novels are from that.
Yeah. So that's one school of thought. It's like, well, there just isn't. There isn't a point where you would do that.
So here's an interesting thing that kind of popped in my mind as you started talking. You said something about like, is there a maximum level, right? The reason that we're able to even have and entertain this conversation, Nate, is that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like we're at the very pinnacle, right? We're not worried about eating and clothing ourselves and all this other kind of stuff. And so we can afford to worry about the niceties of the plight of other people that are not our citizens, et cetera. It's like, if we were actually living, if we weren't divorced from reality the way we are, like, so there, just think about the word you say, is there a maximum? Is there a maximum of money, of resources, right? The reason that, like, look at all the other countries around the world that you could even say maybe even more developed and more Western than even we are, in terms of how liberal they are and whatever else. They don't feel obligated to jump into they have NGOs and they have different people that are activists, et cetera, that go over and try to make a difference. And that's obviously that's terrific. But the government of Sweden or whatever else, they're not, we need to raise an army and go. It's not part of their deal. Like, because they actually they operate in a reality of resources, cash flow in, cash flow out, resources we collect, resources we distribute as a government, right? We're just so divorced from that. Like, every dollar that we're spending on this, we are borrowing from China and other places right now. So it's like,
and from ourselves.
So like, what's that?
And from ourselves, like whoever it is that buys bonds. And stuff.
Well, it's the global market of treasury buyers, right? So like, we are borrowing that money. So when you're like, oh, well, shouldn't we do something? It's like, well, yeah, let's. So it's like if I have a budget of take a household budget, $10,000 a month or whatever. I spend $5,000 on this and $2,000 on this and whatever else. And at the end of the month, I got $1,500. And what do I want to do with this $1,500? Let's just say, right? And it's like, okay, well, so do you want to spend $1,000 on this or $500 on that? Or maybe you even want to put $500 on a credit card and I'll pay that back next month because this is really important, right? Mm-hmm. We're not even in that reality. This is like the reality of somebody who's like borrowing half of all the money that they need to live, right? And then saying, you know what else? We need to go and do. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, your roads are falling apart. Your infrastructure is falling apart. You haven't had any serious work on anything physical in the country in the last 50 years. The teachers are the lowest paid people in the country. All this different stuff. Healthcare is a mess. Healthcare premiums going through the roof. People are homeless people now under every overpass that I go under. They used to be like, oh, there's this one overpass in town. There's a homeless person out there. Can you believe it? Now it's like, dude, there's an overpass that had no homeless people. Wow, what are you doing? It's so crazy, and it's like we have all of that going on, and yet it's like, yeah, people got outraged 2 months ago, we did a podcast on it. The $9 billion of theoretical fraud in Minnesota over the last 10 years. Okay, so $9 billion at the maximum over 10 years is what is that? It's
we've already spent it.
Yeah, but dude, we literally in 10 days we spent that.
Yeah.
We're talking about 10 years being outraged over this and these Somalis and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, you're upset about that, but you're not upset about the last 10 days. We literally threw away that money on bombs, killing. Like, it's just.
No. Hold on. It wasn't thrown away.
Pardon me. We're liberating people. Yes.
Well.
Pardon.
Also,
totally.
You could think of that in terms of, the military industrial complex is a lot of jobs, is a lot of stuff, right? I mean, it's not as though that money was just flushed down the toilet. Like that went to our industries and so on.
Tony Stark's got to make some money, man.
Yeah. So Lockheed needs some money.
Lockheed, man.
But going back to that question, do you think, and again, I don't think most people are, sitting there going like thinking of this philosophically, like what would the conditions be under which this would be moral kind of thing, or would it be worth it to me? Natives, right? But so maybe if we cash it out the way that you're saying it. So one immediate effect of this is the price of gasoline at the pump has gone up for us, right? Right now, it has gone up 15, 20 cents in the last couple of days alone.
Yep.
So if you say, okay, I am willing to pay 20 cents extra at the pump in order to save these lives. Right.
Again, and then you say it's a false choice, because are you willing to pay 20 cents at the pump to make sure that every teacher can earn $6? You know what I mean? Like like if you're given a choice between two different possibilities, people will pick the domestic one 9 times out of 10.
Well, no, I know. I'm not saying what
they're just never presented with the choice. So it's like, well, it's only 20 cents, man.
I'm not saying what people would do. I'm saying like a philosophically minded person who's thinking of like, I could save lives for the low price of 20 cents extra per gallon for the next 6 weeks. So for the next 6 weeks, my gasoline price goes up, and in exchange, I save these thousands of lives, or I'm doing my part to save these thousands of lives.
You sound like a Sarah McLachlan commercial right now. For the price of a cup of coffee.
Yeah, but I mean, it's so cheap. Or if we say, well, it's not, it's, however many billions of dollars, you're like, yeah, it's all gonna be borrowed. How's it gonna be paid for? It's gonna be paid for with inflation. It's like, but you think to yourself, man, what is a 1/15% of inflation versus hundreds of thousands of lives being saved? What kind of miser am I that I wouldn't be willing to pay that price? And so, right. So I'm saying, like, if you were inclined to make that trade, knowing that, say, it makes you will be paying for this in one way or the other.
But again,
would you want to pay for it?
What do you think happens when these bombs land in Iran?
Yep.
They just land and kick up a bunch of dust? No, they land on people. People die. So it's like, okay, so I'm willing to kill these 6,000 people in order to save these 20,000 people. It's like, what? This is just.
Or maybe, well, if you believe, so if we're talking, so at some point, and I think this is the interesting question, right? Remember, at what point? So I think if you're saying something like, to the person who's being saved, like their family, if you say, well, I'm going to kill these 2 people to save these 3, so net 1, then it's like, well, for that 1, you gave them everything.
That's right. It's like it's like the starfish, right? You can't save all these starfish. I saved that one. Yeah.
So, but if we're talking about like on a mass scale, is there a point where you're like, yeah, it's worth it? We will all pay that price in order, and some of us maybe pay the ultimate price of like going and getting mown down at D-Day or whatever. Like, yeah, we'll go do that in order to save millions of lives or something. And I think in that case, I mean, then it's just a question of like, well, what exactly is the threshold, and what is the price that you're willing to pay for that at that threshold? But it doesn't seem like that's irrational, right? I mean, unless you think that, again, that there is no amount. It's like, yeah, the rest of the world is literally butchering itself. Like, Europe is being emptied as people are being hung by the millions in open
That's not
galleys.
what's happening, right?
I know. I know that's not what's happening. But I'm saying that if you're saying that at what point, right? This is the question.
Well, I can tell you this.
And if you're like, well, at no point.
After watching enough Walking Dead and other stuff, it's like most people, if it started going that direction, they would be looking for a private island to escape to, right?
Yes, most people. But we're not talking about most people. We're talking about
Americans.
No,
we're talking about Americans. But we're not even talking about Americans because we're not coming to ask the American people for permission. We're just going to go do it. And
so what about you, though?
What?
What about you?
What about me?
Yeah. Is there a point if you're like, if the loss of life is this high and the amount of lives lost for us is this high, the delta is this big. I would say
you want like an algorithm or something.
No, I'm saying
a formula.
I'm saying, is there a delta that high enough for you to say yes?
Well, yeah. I don't even know what it would be. Okay, I don't know what it would be, and there's a lot of.
Would we agree that certainly a billion would be enough?
Well, here's the thing, though.
You're going to save a billion lives.
Well, here's the thing, though. That whole conversation, right, is this classroom conversation, right?
Yeah.
And
I'm a professor.
I know, and that's and I'm not denigrating the value of the conversation. I'm just putting it in its context. That conversation is a mental exercise, right? And it's a useful exercise because it allows you to explore your value system and what you think is important and all those different things, right? It's very valuable. But I'm just saying that conversation happens over here. The conversation that's in front of us is well, even before, right? Like, so imagine, like, we're not in the room, right? I'm not in the room. I'm a taxpayer, I try to keep my head down, make $1 or $2, find a nickel roll in the wrong direction. That's my game.
Keep your nose clean.
Keep my nose clean, raise my kids. Right. See some live music from time to time, ride my motorcycle without having to carry my passport, hopefully, like whatever, those kind of things, right? But we're not in the room. But like, if you're in the room, like if you were the guys around the table, right? And the thing is that all these guys that are around the table, they wanted to be around the table. They ran for this office. And when they ran for the office, they put out there what they believed and what they cared about and what they, some of them were obviously fake and phony and people smelled that, right? And then some looked authentic and real. And of the ones that looked authentic and real, people gravitated towards one message or another. And Trump, it's not like Trump did this to come up with his positions. I mean, he's been having these positions for decades. So it's like that's one thing that I've always kind of defended him on, is like, whether I agreed or disagreed, it's like, well, dude, like, it's not like he's not. I mean, is he the smartest guy in the world? No. Is he the dumbest guy in the world? No. And is that position really well thought out? Yeah. Do I disagree with it? Yeah. But at least it's consistent, right? He's been very clear about all this. So like, to see and I'm not here to judge. Hey, maybe you saw something that I didn't see, and you got a perspective I don't have. So yeah, you changed your mind. But I can comment on the fact that, wow, that seems like a big reversal. And I can also comment on, man, that's not what I voted for. I mean, if I had voted for him, right? And I think that's where people are like, well, geez, like, you sold us this, we bought into it and supported you. We elected you to represent our interests. You told us this. We said this was what we were interested in. You agreed with us. We put you up there. And now we don't really like what you're doing because that's not what you sold us on, right? So all those things are, I think, very valid, Yeah.
No, I completely understand that. And I think that if you think about like the Tulsi Gabbard wing of MAGA, like it'll be very interesting to see if maybe like in 2 or 3 weeks when this winds down, if you see some defections, people that like don't want to resign and protest while the military is being activated, but as soon as that's all done, they're like, and now I'm out. Like, I can't be a part of this anymore, whatever. That will be interesting. I'm kind of curious, and that's one of those sort of domestically interesting things. I don't know. I'm a little bit more in favor of the called like the classroom exercise, because I do think, and it's not just special pleading on my part, but like hopefully maybe it is. But I think it does sort of force you to confront at least, that there is a limit or not. Right. I'm not even asking for what the limit is. Right. You know, if you said it's 1 billion people or 1 million or 100,000, but like,
I'll give you. I think most of us would grant that
there is a limit.
That there are some atrocities that happen that happen where you're like, okay, that's beyond the pale. But when those times happen, usually you're not the only one making the move. You know,
right.
It's like you're getting on the phone going, can you believe this shit? You know, whatever. And you get people together and then you go and take care of it. Right. Yeah. And that we've been a part of those multiple times. This one is not like, that's not the situation.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Rwanda would be an example of that kind of thing.
Rwanda is a great example.
Like this got to stop, you know, we got to stop. So, and I think, okay, does this rise to that level or not? And I think for a lot of people, maybe it does. I don't know. I mean,
well, you know, I'd asked Dad this question last night. I was like, okay, well, look, North Korea, they're a pretty bad country. I think they kill protesters over there.
They don't have protesters.
Right. They don't even have protesters. They pull out their tongues. You can't protest what? Our people all love us. Look, they're very happy. But I said to Dad, I was like, well, you know, gosh, you don't see. He's like, because he had said, well, Iran, they're pursuing nuclear weapons. I'm like, Dad, you'd have to be like the most irresponsible. If you were in charge of a country today, like right now, if you were in charge of pick a country, if you weren't pursuing getting nuclear weapons, I would have to say you're the most irresponsible leader that I'd ever heard of. Like everybody can see now, like if you have nuclear weapons, like North Korea, they got 6 nuclear weapons, I think last count, and nobody messes with them, right? They can torture their people. They can silence all their protesters and nobody says, I mean, people write opinion pieces, you know, presidents may wag their finger, but nothing really happens because they got nukes, right? But if you don't have nukes, man, we'll come mess you up, you know? And it's like, well, if that's the environment, that's what we're saying the environment is, that you're 85% of people on these threads, like, yeah, let's go. It's like, what?
But
you're just encouraging people to proliferate.
But that was true as soon as Russia invaded Ukraine.
What do you mean?
The point that you're making, that like anybody in their right mind, after seeing that, should think, well, I need a nuke. At least a couple.
Go back further than that. I mean, Gaddafi is the best example I can think of. It's like, dude,
yeah, but the thing is, Gaddafi happened in a place where people are sort of like, where's that? Libya,
right,
some African whatever, right? Where it's like Ukraine
one of those places.
Ukraine is like this, you know, it's these beautiful European cities, and everyone's blonde, you know, like, like whoa, we can't.
Man, when's the last time you hung out with a Ukrainian? They're not all blonde.
I know a few. The ones I know are blonde. But anyway, my point.
Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah. This was a good combo though. I think it's like one of those things where it's like it's you know, like Dad and I were having our conversation last night, and I was like, you know, it got heated for a minute, and then even as it was getting heated though, like for me personally, I'm just my own experience. Like it was like as fast as it got heated, it just kind of went away for me, because it was like, dude, I can't. It's like I can't get really like. It's very hard for me to take a definitive "this is wrong" position on this one, you know, because it's like everybody agreed that guy was a you know, a jackhole, whatever you want to call it. You know, the country was a complete. There's nobody that's upset that guy's dead other than his family members. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much of that that's kind of like a layup, and so I get the temptation to you know, take the points if you can get them, that type of situation. I also just think it's just one more thing on the stack of the whole, whatever you want to call it. I think the pundits call it the rules-based order or whatever. It's like, hey, you know, since World War II, we had this rules-based order that basically were our rules. And it's kind of weird to see. It's kind of weird to see Americans going, you know, but like they were our rules for us that have unquestionably benefited us the most out of anybody on earth. And so it's like, well, and I do buy into some of the argument that, hey, these rules don't support us as much as they did. They don't benefit as much as they used to. Yeah. And so maybe we need to shake up the system. So I'm sympathetic to that line of argument. But the way that it's being unraveled or taken apart or dismantled, however you want to say it, right, to put your spin on it, if it's like the way that it's being done is just basically like driving everybody to conclude, well, hey, I mean, the truth is sovereign nations have been going to war with each other for as long as there have been sovereign nations, you know. The first king that got flipped off, you know, and it started a war, you know, or Helen of Troy, or you can go down the whole list. There's all kinds of capricious reasons that people start wars.
Over the face that sailed 1,000 ships.
Set us out. So it's like, so we have all this history, and we have this like maybe 80-year window of almost non-history where it's like the rest of human history has been the strong taking from the weak and enforcing whatever order that they want. And we've had this 80-year window of like, no, let's have a platform where we can all get along, and we can, you know, we can deliberate and we can negotiate, and we don't have to like, you know, drop bombs on each other and whatnot. And the thing is, if it gets dismantled back to the place of literally like, hey, the only what might makes right, or whatever you can do and get away with, that's totally legitimate. It makes it real dangerous in a world where we do have nuclear bombs. So I just I don't know. I don't know what the future holds at this point on that one. But you know, I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, you know, it's so crazy. It's like I got, you know, we were just talking before the podcast, you know, I got this computer set up, my home server that I built, and all this other cool stuff, you know, like gizmos, and my car pulls into the driveway, the garage door opens, I don't even have to touch a button anymore. You know, my car drives for me now, all this great stuff, and all this stuff that the AI and all this other kind of things that we just think may be super terrifying, but also like the potential is just so amazing. And it's like, wouldn't it be interesting if like right on the cusp of this next level of evolution as a society, as a species, as a whatever, that we just completely blow up the entire planet, and our kids are foraging for freaking handy wipes in the woods, you know, like that movie. I just, but it's to think that it can't happen is like the height of hubris. I mean, it's happened to every great empire, except for the British Empire. They did it right. Yeah. They unwound theirs pretty good, you know.
It's like you really want to avoid the scenario in the first 30 seconds of that movie, Love Me. Did you ever see that?
No, what's that one?
It was a really cool film. I actually liked it. It's Kristen Stewart is in it. I'm a big fan of hers, although I know she's kind of controversial. But you don't have to watch the whole thing. It's this really strange, meditative film. But just watch the first 30 seconds, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Are you talking about the chick from Twilight?
Yeah.
Oh, I like her.
Yeah. So I really liked that movie, even though most people hated it. But as you know, I have kind of strange taste in film. But
I remember seeing it. This is it animated?
Parts of it.
It's
most of it, not all of it.
It's two pieces of technology that fall in love with each other, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at some point, just watch the first 30 seconds. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Will do, man. Dude, thank you for carving out time. I know it's like your spring break, and this was like really, I'm glad we could bring it together last minute. Oh, yeah. Thanks to everybody who tuned in and was watching, and thanks for the comments. And
it's like we have to decide if this was a day early or 2 weeks late.
Oh, definitely 2 weeks late, bro.
2 weeks late. Okay. All right.
All right, man. I'll sign off for now. Good talking to you, man.